What if the real problem in South Africa isn't the foreigner taking your jobs, but the system that keeps you away from land, mines, and economic power? Julius Malema is challenging the entire narrative. He says Africans are being pushed to fight one another over crops, while the real economic battle is happening elsewhere else. And that raises one explosive question: who really benefits from this division?
Someone has come to fool you and make you think there is a big problem for you to fight with your own neighbors. You said they take jobs. I asked the question. 300 Ghanaians went back to Ghana 3 days ago. Show me 300 jobs which were created after those 3 Ghanaians left. Say no, Mahama took 300 people back to Ghana. And as a result, here are 300 jobs that we created.
What if the real problem in South Africa isn't the foreigner taking your job? What if the deeper problem is an economic system that keeps millions of people away from land, resources, capital, and economic power? Julius Malema is challenging the entire narrative. He says Africans are being pushed to fight one another over crumbs, while the real economic battle is taking place somewhere else. And that raises a very uncomfortable question. Who actually benefits when Africans fight Africans? Welcome to Phoenix Actu, where we analyze the forces shaping Africa.
You must know that this struggle is not an easy struggle. Because there are no police vans outside, unlike during apartheid, where you said, we're fighting police, we're fighting soldiers, and you could point at them. When you speak about economic power and the banks, our people don't understand what you're talking about. They look at you and say, how can you own the banks when? You are not demanding the banks. You are demanding the land where those banks will operate from. Why would you demand free education if you don't have the land to build universities where we'll teach our children agriculture, mining, and all different important sectors of our economy? Here in Eastern Cape, we have no reason to be xenophobic. Everyone who has got a surname that sounds like Zimbabwean must go. It means the Mpofus here must also live. From the Zulu nation are found in Zimbabwe. The Tongas in Limpopo in Guyana, they are found in Mozambique. The Basutus in Free State and parts of Matatiele, here in Eastern Cape, are found in Lesotho. They are your relatives. You've got children with them. Some of you during weekends, you even cross to go into an event across the fence without a passport. Someone has come to fool you and make you think there is a big problem for you to fight with your own neighbors.
The economic trap. But Malema argues that this focus can become a trap. He points to small businesses and street commerce. His argument is that people can spend enormous energy fighting over small economic opportunities while the larger structures of the economy remain unchanged. He describes this as fighting over crumbs. And then he asks his audience to think bigger. Why not fight for control of the mines? Why not fight for access to banking and finance? Why not fight for land? Why not fight for the ability to create businesses, industries, and institutions? This is where his argument moves beyond immigration. It becomes a debate about economic sovereignty. And if you're interested in analyses that go beyond the headlines, subscribe to Phoenix Actu. This is exactly the kind of deeper African geopolitical debate we explore here.
You said they take jobs. I asked the question. 300 Ghanaians went back to Ghana 3 days ago. Show me 300 jobs which were created after those 3 Ghanaians left. Say no, Mahama took 300 people back to Ghana. And as a result, here are 300 jobs that we created. Which jobs are they taking from you? Who wants to do these jobs that these people don't pay for? Because these people who come from outside South Africa, they are the ones who do those jobs during harvesting season in Stellenbosch, where they are not paid anything. And you will never want to do that job because we know our rights. We don't want slaves jobs. We want jobs that have got appointment letter with benefits, with pension funds, a letter that can confirm that you are economically active. Not jobs that are going to exploit South Africans. That's why you will never go back to take those jobs. In Alexander, 1 year, they took away the Zimbabweans and foreigners who were selling apples and tomatoes on the streets. Said, Mabahambe, let them go out. After they chased them away, no South African went to that space to sell tomatoes and apples. Because when you remove them, you must go in and sell tomatoes. Stellan Davin has got 500 million to give you to start those spaza shops, to occupy those streets and sell. But they will never give you that money. It goes into their pockets. We're told 500 million is out. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to fight for spaza shop. I'm fighting for a mine. I'm fighting for a bank. That's why they divert you into spaza shops, because they don't want you to concentrate on the real economy. They want you to fight over crumbs while they are continuing to eat.
The xenophobia debate. One of the strongest elements of Malema's speech is his challenge to the argument that foreigners are taking South African jobs. His reasoning is straightforward. If hundreds of foreign workers leave South Africa, does that automatically mean hundreds of jobs will suddenly become available to South Africans? Malema challenges his audience to identify those jobs. Because removing a worker does not necessarily create employment. The real question is whether the economy is creating enough productive, decent and sustainable employment in the first place. And this distinction matters. Because unemployment can generate frustration. Frustration can generate anger. And anger can eventually look for a target. In this case, that target can become the foreigner. Land and economic power. Land is particularly important in Malema's argument. He connects land ownership to agriculture, education, infrastructure, and broader economic development. In other words, land is not presented simply as a piece of property. It becomes a foundation for economic power. And this is one of the most important historical questions in South Africa. Political freedom did not automatically eliminate economic inequality. The question therefore becomes, what does political freedom mean if economic ownership remains highly unequal? That question is not unique to South Africa. Across Africa, political sovereignty and economic sovereignty do not always move at the same speed. A country may control its flag, its institutions, and its borders while still struggling to control the ownership, financing and processing of its most valuable resources. Xenophobia and tribalism. Malema also issues another warning. Xenophobia can become tribalism. This is particularly sensitive in Southern Africa because modern national borders do not erase older cultural, historical, and family connections. Communities exist across borders. Families exist across borders. Languages and cultures exist across borders. So when one African population begins to see another African population as an enemy, the consequences can become much larger than a simple political disagreement. The danger is that economic frustration becomes ethnic or national hostility. And once that happens, the economic problem remains unsolved. The enemy simply changes.
Stop the hate, because from xenophobia is going to be tribalism. It's already tribalism somewhere in KZN where vendors are being beaten. South Africans, anyone who can't speak Zulu is being beaten up. You cannot promote hate. It doesn't matter how hungry you are. Even in your hunger, you must never hate. You can hate me for telling you not to hate. Why must I tell you to hate? I must tell you to love. And when I tell you to love, it means you must love yourself first before you can love other people. You are hating on other people because you are hating yourself. How will I differentiate in this hall? Who's Xhosa, who's Zulu, who's Venda? By just looking at you. Some of us from Limpopo are going to be the biggest victims because we are dark. When you try to explain I'm from Yebare, tell us what is this in Xhosa? Ah, la, la. What is an elbow in Xhosa? Ah, finished. That's how hate works. I'm hated because I'm saying the white people and black people must be equal. And all of them benefit from the resources of this country. Why would you hate someone who says we must be equal? Because equality means unity. You will never be united when someone is up here and the other one is lower. And you say you are united. How are you united like that? You have to bring them to a level. And that will automatically become a unity of South Africans. I've never promoted hatred anywhere, but I'm hated for promoting love and unity and equality. And the way they hate me for saying you must love each other and all of you benefit from the resources of this country. Sometimes I look at them, I'm like, these ones, if Jesus Christ was still alive, they were going to kill him. Because Jesus Christ preached mfundis, love and peace and unity. That's what I'm saying. When I say to you, get the land, I'm not saying kill white people. I'm saying let's all have the land. Let's share this land. It can't be that 80% of the population owns 14% of the land. And less than 10% of the population owns 85% of the land. That is not correct. Something is wrong there. Madiba gave us political freedom. And when Madiba went on retirement, he said to us, don't call me, I'll call you. If you remember that. And he said, Aluta continua. So you needed to ask yourself, what does he mean by that? Aluta continua means the struggle continues. That's what Mandela said to us. Then you need to ask the question, which struggle continues? Because they say Madiba came out of prison and gave us everything. The same man that they say gave us everything said to us, the struggle continues.
The question of dignity. Another major theme in Malema's speech is dignity. He contrasts social assistance with deeper forms of economic empowerment. For him, dignity means access to jobs. It means land, education, housing, healthcare, water, electricity. He argues that people should not be reduced to recipients of temporary assistance when they were promised a transformation of their living conditions. This is an important distinction. Social protection can provide immediate relief. But long-term economic empowerment requires productive capacity, investment, infrastructure, and access to opportunities. And this brings us back to the central question. Who controls the economic system? Pan-African reading. From a Pan-African perspective, Malema's warning raises an uncomfortable issue. Africa cannot build meaningful continental solidarity if economic frustration constantly turns African populations against one another. Migration is a real issue. Unemployment is a real issue. Poverty is a real issue. Competition for economic opportunities is real. But blaming another African population does not automatically solve these structural problems. The deeper battle may concern ownership, capital, resources, and economic power. And this is where the debate becomes much larger than South Africa.
But he said to you, the people of Eastern Cape, who are the most victims of this GNU, he said to you, and you didn't listen to him. That's why The Eastern Cape people keep on voting the ANC even when the ANC exploit you. This province is one of the most unfortunate provinces where people cross the river to the other side without a bridge. And when there is a funeral, the hash comes and park on the other side of the river, and you carry a coffin on your shoulders, cross the river to have a service like this, and then cross the river back into the hash, and the following day you still vote for the ANC. After Mandela said to you, if the ANC do to you what apartheid did to you, you must do to the ANC what you did to apartheid. That's what Mandela said. If they treat you like animals, show them who you are. Children here in Eastern Cape, nowhere in South Africa, nowhere. The only province where children die out of hunger is Eastern Cape, where we bury children literally because they have nothing to eat. It's only in Eastern Cape. You can wear those colors of the ANC and be proud, fine, but you must know children are dying under those colors out of hunger. For the first time that is heard in South Africa is here in the Eastern Cape. They are not treating you like the way apartheid treated you. They are treating you worse than the apartheid. And you don't stand up on your own and say, no, we love Tata, but this we can't tolerate. You even produce a Xhosa song thanking Ramaphosa for giving you 350. Who dares do that? What is 350 compared to what we were promised in 1994? We were never promised to be charitable cases. We were told that our dignity is going to be restored. 350 will never restore your dignity. Jobs will restore your dignity. The land will restore your dignity. Free education will restore your dignity. Free houses will restore your dignity. Free water and electricity for the beneficiaries of SASA will restore your dignity. They never promised us 350 in 1994. They promised us houses. They promised us land. They promised us free education. They promised us free health care. Children are being born on the floor inside hospitals if you are lucky to get inside a clinic. A clinic closes at 4 o'clock as if you give birth according to time. At any time you can go into shock. A woman in Limpopo gave birth to a child at the gate of a clinic that was closed right in front of her face.
So what do you think? Are Africans fighting over the wrong things? Are ordinary people being encouraged to fight over limited opportunities while the deeper economic structures remain untouched? Subscribe to Phoenix Actu, share this video and join the debate in the comments. And here's the question. Does xenophobia protect African workers, or does it distract them from the real economic battle?